What's going on, guys? So I want to do a tier list post Infinite Forbidden, or basically, I guess right now because Infinite Forbidden is pretty much out. Um, and big shout out to the person who made this tier list right here. Their name on the tier maker is the game 966. I just felt like I needed to give them a shout out because they put a lot of time into this. Um, but anyways, I will be ranking them based on my opinion. So first off, let's start with branded. Branded is in a good spot right now, and it belongs at tier one. It hasn't proven it's definitely not tier zero, of course. Um, but I'm afraid people have the deck figured out by now. The puppet lock. People are playing a lot of hand traps right now. But if the puppet lock goes through, you win. Ironically, Centurion is in a very similar place, but I would still have it at the rogue setting. Um, Chimera Fiendsmith, this deck has a lot of potential, but for now, we just don't know. Um, I still feel like branded Chimera is better. That's just my opinion. Drytron, I'm going to put this in don't because Drytron, it still has the same problems Drytron's always had. It's very susceptible to. I say it's susceptible to hand traps. It's just susceptible to the same hand traps. So it didn't really get better. Snake Eyes Fire King. We're gonna put this in tier one. The deck is just power crept now by the Fiendsmith. Like if you can play the Fiendsmith, just play that. Flenderies. I know a lot of people hate on this deck. I still got it in Rogue. This is a deck that can just sneak into the top of Nats. Gen X, please don't do that. That deck sucks. Gimmick Puppet, I want to put this in don't because I don't want to play against it. But for now, I think it's going to be Rogue, and I think you will see a Gimmick Puppet top at Nats. That's just my opinion. Possibly more than one. Ice Barrier, don't be surprised if you see a top at Nats with Ice Barrier. This deck is crazy. It can perform a Water Barrier statue lock. Yeah, that's it. I mean, any deck that can lock you and do all that's kind of crazy. Infernoid, I'm gonna put this in don't. This deck just don't seem that good. Um, it plays too many bricks. I just think there's way better stuff. This is a controversial one. I'm putting Kashtira in tier one. It's a shifter deck. It's arguably the best shifter deck. You could say Ritual Beast. Um, I'm just telling you right now, do not be surprised if Cash sneaks into the top of Nats. Labyrinth. We're gonna put it in Rogue right now. The deck it just struggles with a few things. Ash Blossom being one of them, and but it's good. It's really good, and don't be surprised if it sneaks into the top of Nats. Live Twin Fiendsmith, any kind of Fiendsmith that's not Ubel or Snake Eyes, I'm just gonna say don't. Madolche, don't. This deck's really good though, so it could sneak into Rogue. I just think there's better stuff out there, to be honest with you. Melodious, I think Melodious missed its window. People are playing more board breakers now. Dark Ruler just decimates this board, but it can still do its thing. Memento, Rogue, do not be surprised if this deck tops Nats. It will not be a surprise. Millennium, it's just not there. Don't play it. Pendulum decks, dude, please don't play Pendulum decks. Plant Leak, Rogue, it has the same problem as Melodious. It creates a really good inboard, but Dark Ruler kind of messes it up. Pearly Sprite, this version of Pearly I don't like. The other version, I would still call it Rogue. It's just really, it has issues. It just has a lot of issues. There's hands where it feels like you can't lose with it, and there's hands like you just can't win. Ritual Beast, we're gonna put it at tier one. This deck, it can Protos lock. Without the Protos lock and Shifter, this deck sucks. Flat out, this deck sucks. But it has those unfair cards. It's almost like Fusion Flu. That's what I call it. Rescue Ace, just don't. If you're going to spend that much money, just build something better. Runic for Hire, don't. Runic Stun. I'm putting this at tier 0. I know it's not going to be tier 0 in representation. This deck is insane, though. This deck is insane. It can win. It can beat any. There's no deck that it can't beat. Salad. I'm going to put that in Rogue. It just always does things. Shining Sark. I tested this deck. Just don't. Just don't. It has issues OTKing. And in this meta, you just can't do that. Snake Eye Fiendsmith. Of course, this will be tier 0. Sprite, tier 1 with the right pilot. I think this deck's very pilot-centric. It still has the issue with losing a Dark Ruler. But yeah. Unchained Fiendsmith, do not be surprised if we see a top or two of this. Unchained Fiendsmith is crazy. And it's a little bit more layered. It plays their hand traps like nothing. Tier, yeah, just don't play Tier anymore. It's done. It's over. Tenpai, I'm gonna put it up in tier 0. Not necessarily, like I said, because of representation, because of power level. Is the way I'm gonna look at this tier list. Valmonica, I'm gonna put this in Rogue. I know it really hasn't had the representation yet, but with the new support, this deck got pretty good. Like this deck's all the decks are really good out of Valiant Smashers. It actually proved to be a really good set. Voiceless Voice. I played this deck for a little while, and I like the deck. I really do. It's just not there. It got power creep. It actually can lose to pretty much any deck in here. It's just not that good. It's not that good right now. And I hate that. It was a very balanced, fair. It was just a very. This is like what a deck should be. It's the prime example of what a deck should be. But it loses to a lot of the things that the other top decks lose to, so it's kind of bad. Whitewoods, don't be surprised if this deck win top snats. I'm telling you. A lot of people are kind of crapping on it, but the deck, it can Calamity Lock, and it has a better grind game than Centurion. So, and they're mixing it. I'm talking about the Whitewood Centurion mix. As its own deck, it's not that good. But yeah, don't be surprised. Ubel, we'll put it up here. And this is Ubel's Fiendsmith. But even just pure Ubel, people, playing that, they'll still be right up here. But yeah, this is my deck, my tier list. Pearly could be here. With the right pilot and the right hand. Like, there's some hands you open with Pearly and you're just like, yeah, there's no losing this. Like, I absolutely don't want to lose this. That's the same with Flu. I mean, you can say that for any of these decks. This is one that I see coming up in representation is Memento. I think it was the best of all the decks that came out of Valiant Smashers. Centurion and this are very close, but this one depends on cheeky Calamity Locks, and it has a little too much setup for me. This one actually builds an inboard that's kind of good. So don't be surprised if this becomes tier 1 after Nats. We'll see. Melodious, this is one I'm afraid is going to just fall off, just disappear. The support wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough. This is a deck that could very well creep up here, especially if we get Shavara back to like 2 at least. And then same with Rescue Ace. If we get a good ban list, Rescue Ace would become something people would play, and it could get up here to the tier 1. Power level is still Rogue, but just don't play it, because for the money you could just play Fire King Snake Eye. Like, you're gonna have to buy the same cards to make it good. So just at least play this. But if you do that, you might as well just play the Pure Snake Eye, which I didn't put Pure Snake Eye on here, but Fire King Snake Eye and Pure Snake Eye are right there in the same thing. And this is not in order. If I had to put this one in order, it'd probably be like this. So Ritual Beast, Fire King Snake. No, I'd still put Fire over Ritual Beast, Branded, Kashtira, and then Sprite. And then if I had to bump one of these up, I would say Unchained Fiendsmith, because this deck's it never got bad. Unchained never got bad. It literally just got hit by the ban list so hard that people quit playing it. It was still good. Like, there were still a couple regional tops. So yeah, don't be surprised if any of these decks, except for these, I doubt you'll see any of these top. No. The only deck here that could possibly top and just be like surprisingly there would probably be Drytron, just because I think a lot of the loyalists will be playing it, and the deck. It's one of them decks. If you don't stop it, you will lose. It does FTK virtually. It virtually FTKs. And there's you can do the Vanity's Fiend lock. It can play Herald of the Orange Light, so it can do a lot of things. But yeah, anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.